What is up? Happy Tuesday. Welcome into Let's Bet It. And what a Monday, still fun day we had from last night from our friend Jim Monis. Monday, still fun day. I'm loving it. Lauren Jbara here, Jared Smith. Jared, how you feeling today?
Not great. We didn't have a great betting night. Over didn't hit. We didn't really do that well in props. I got Waller into the end zone. I tried to get in Raiders money line live, at a slightly better price than what it was pregame. That didn't work either, even though I thought Vegas had some chances to get in that game. But the Chargers proved to be the better team, no doubt. And LA, listen, we're going to look back maybe on that Chiefs game in a couple weeks down the road and say, hey, maybe it's not as big of a surprise as we thought that the Chargers went into Arrowhead and got a win, because they look to be a pretty game in that AFC West.
They looked really, really good. My boy Justin Herbert showing up, and providing a game for all of us to watch. It was really, really fun. We got a lot to get to today, all right? We got some early birds. We got our early bets for the weekend. We're already looking ahead to this weekend. Jay Croucher is going to be joining us. He's the head of trading at PointsBet. We got the MLB Yankees Red Sox wild card game. That's going to be an exciting one. And then we can't end without our best bets of the day and the Pickswise 3-star play of the day, which I don't think there is one today, but you know what? We'll be giving our best bets. So I cannot even wait. Lots to get to. Let's get it. Let's bet it. All right, early birds. We're already looking ahead to the weekend. Thursday night football, week 6 of college football, week 5 of NFL. Hard to keep them all straight. They kind of all just run together after a while. We're in the mix of it. We're in the thick of it right now. But on Wednesdays, we wear pink. And on Tuesdays, we talk about our early bird picks for the upcoming weekend. You know what that's from?
Yeah, Mean Girls. Come on. It's like one of my favorite movies.
I mean, if you didn't know what that was from, I'd be a little concerned.
Danny DeVito, I love your work.
Look at you, Jared.
I love that line.
Fan. I'm loving
That's my favorite line in the whole movie.
Yes, that's great. Okay, let's get to it. College football picks, early birds. What games are you looking at? What are you liking? Where have you seen line movement that people can really take advantage of?
Oh, Lauren, I don't know if we're going to be friends this week.
I saw your notes. Before you even say anything, I saw your notes on the Google spreadsheet, and I'm like, do I even want to show up today? And I still did. I'm here to face you, but you know what? I'm not happy about it.
I mean, I'll be honest. After the disaster fading Michigan last week, you would think that I've learned my lesson. But I think the tippy top of my college football card this week is Nebraska at home. I got 3.5, and I think that 3 in the hook will evaporate by Saturday. I would guess, based off of the early move, the fact that it opened 3.5 at a lot of shops, and we saw a lot of sportsbooks move it to 3 very quickly, despite the fact, as you would expect, the public very high on Michigan after what was a very impressive win. No doubt about it. A very impressive win against Wisconsin, at Wisconsin, on the road on Saturday. Now, that being said, on the other side, Nebraska, I think, needs to be taken a little more seriously than the record indicates. So they're 3-3. They're coming off a win over Northwestern, but they're 5-0 against the spread in their last 5 games. So those 3 losses, the early one was bad against Illinois. The opening game of the year, though. Week 0, actually. It wasn't even week 1. It was week 0. So I don't even know if I can truly count that game as, gospel when it comes to breaking down this Nebraska team. Lately, they've been really good. They lost an overtime game to Michigan State, who's looked great, and they lost by a touchdown to Oklahoma, who's a top 5 team. Both of those games were on the road against ranked teams. So I think Nebraska, who is really good at stopping the run, averaging just 3.5 yards per attempt against them this year, now they get this Michigan team at a buy low spot, because Michigan, I think, is a sell high situation after what happened on Saturday. And I know you're like, well, Jared, wait a minute. Michigan looked great. In college football, it's the momentum just carries you from week to week. And I love selling teams off of big wins, especially big road wins in the conference. It's going to be a home game for Nebraska. They're going to be going crazy in Lincoln. I believe it's a night game as well. And I'll take 3.5 at home in that spot, and, just hope that the market's maybe moved a little too much in Michigan's favor.
Would you take Nebraska money line?
Absolutely. I mean,
really?
I think 100%. I think if you're willing to take 3.5, you should always be willing to take. I don't bet a lot of underdogs in college football unless I think they can win outright as well. Because I just think that's the vibe of any team. You want to win, right? But I think in this particular spot, Nebraska is definitely a live dog.
You said that thing about momentum carrying them over from week to week. Well, Michigan is coming off of, in my opinion, one of their most complete performances that they've had all season long. I mean, they're 5-0 this season, 4-1 mark against the spread. How can you be against a team like that? And I will say, I doubted last week. I doubted.
A lot of people did. A lot of people did.
I didn't think.
Wisconsin was really bad. Adrian Martinez to Graham Mertz, there's no comparison there. Adrian Martinez is going to give Michigan's defense a much different challenge. Graham Mertz, I'm convinced you and I could have gone out there and had a similar performance to Graham Mertz on Saturday. That was a dreadful Wisconsin offensive performance. Adrian Martinez will be better than that on Saturday.
I have a feeling that Michigan's going to come out and absolutely roll over Nebraska. And like you gave all those stats. I mean, whatever, 5-0 against the spread, the last 5 games. I don't like where you're coming from over there. They really haven't shown that they can actually beat a top opponent, though. When? No,
they haven't, but they've only played their 2 top opponents on the road, and they were in overtime against Michigan State, and they had Oklahoma in an even game. So that, to me, that tells me that one bounce to the ball in either direction, they could have beaten Michigan State. They could have beaten Oklahoma. If it's a 1-score game against top-ranked teams on the road, that's tough. And Michigan, I think, is not as good as their record indicate. I know that's tough to hear, but I don't trust Cade McNamara to be able to go on the road and out-duel a really capable offense. Wisconsin's not that. Nebraska's a little bit better. We
might have to have a double or nothing bet where you wear like a Michigan shirt and like a fuzzy like Wolverine hat or something.
We'll see. We'll decide on Friday. On Friday, I can't confirm.
Yeah, I'm gonna revisit this with you in a couple days and see how confident you still feel in this bet. Taking Nebraska, and if you're gonna take them with the spread, you should take Nebraska money line because
Deal.
I mean, go big or go home, my friend.
Deal.
Go big or go home.
I will bet Nebraska money line. I will.
All right. What other college football games are on your radar? Because I'm starting to get heated over here, and I need to simmer down a little.
Oh well, in that case, how about we take Virginia Tech at home against Notre Dame?
Okay.
All right. There's. Do you want me to go to one of the other games before?
No, you can go. Hit me with it.
So Virginia Tech's off the bye. They're at home. It's going to be a night game at Lane Stadium. I know you know that part of the country very well. Mm-hmm. Night games at Lane Stadium are the best. I don't know if it's called Lane Stadium. Isn't it called Beamer Stadium now? They might have changed
Beamer. It. Yeah.
But regardless, night games in Blacksburg are a event. Notre Dame, listen, they did not show me anything on offense on Saturday. And I'm concerned with Jack Cohn. I'm concerned with his confidence. I'm concerned with his health, physical and mental. And to me, if Virginia Tech's defense can shut down Sam Howell and beat them in a home game, I think they can handle Notre Dame's offense. And I just feel like Tech off the bye. This is their Super Bowl. They get Notre Dame at home. This is going to be the biggest game of the year for them, especially because of the night status, primetime vibes. So I think this line's going to flip. I would expect Tech to be favored by Saturday night. I got +1.5. I would be that's to me the real bet here with this early bird pick. I bet Tech flips to a favorite by Saturday night. I'm already seeing it in some shops. And I would imagine with the Hokies defense allowing just 17 points per game, again, they shut down Sam Howell. They're going to be able to control the tempo of this game and keep Notre Dame's offense under wraps. And, their offense is going to have to do a little bit against Notre Dame's very stout defense. But again, I'll take the better defense in my eyes at home catching points. I'm sorry.
I mean, here's the thing. If they flip to the favorites, I'll take Notre Dame. I'll take Notre Dame's money line.
Okay.
If
they are going to flip to a favorite.
Flips to the favorites.
You will get Notre Dame probably a plus money on the money line. Very slight, but I think you will.
Perfect. I mean, I'm in. All in. I don't have much around me. I have my AirPods and my phone. I'm all in on it.
Don't shove that in. You're going to need those later. Don't bet what you can't afford to lose.
Oh my gosh. You don't even know yet.
Those AirPods are expensive. And the iPhone, that's like leasing a car these days. All right, I do have two more early word picks I'll give you. These ones, I promise these will not offend you, and I'll go by these very quickly.
Let's hear it. I'm just going to take a quick sip of my coffee because of it.
Yeah, take a sip. Be like Kermit the Frog, sip the tea. I think you're wearing green today too, which is even better.
I know. I just realized that.
So I think Kentucky is due for a letdown after they rushed the field against Florida on Saturday. I love fading teams after like their huge wins. And Kentucky, I think it was the first win over Florida in like 40 years or something like that. The fans rushed the field. Now they have to play at home again, which, isn't a chore. But how do you top that? Well, LSU comes into town, and LSU, they haven't played that well win-loss wise. Couple, coming off a bad loss to Auburn. But I like the way their quarterback's been playing, Max Johnson. And I think Kentucky's a little vulnerable in their pass defense. And I think I'll take 3 in the hook with LSU. Because, again, I'm coming off of a team in Kentucky that was probably a pick-em in this game a few weeks ago before they beat Florida. And now the line has moved significantly in their favor. The public is going to be hammering Kentucky. And then LSU is going to probably sneak under the radar as a relatively mid-sized underdog this weekend. So we're going to take 3 in the hook with the Tigers. Finally, I've been on this team and I've been against the other team 2 out of the last 3 weeks. So we're going to keep rolling with
Coastal
it.
Carolina?
No, but it's close. The other team that Coastal Carolina beat into submission the other day, ULM. ULM, I'm convinced. I'm still convinced. The worst team in college football. And Georgia State, so they're 1-4. But their 4 losses are to Army, UNC, Auburn, and App State, who are combined 15-5.
Yeah.
Which is they've played some really good competition. Now you get to just hammer. They're going to hammer ULM. It's just going to be what the final score is. I got it at 15.5. I'd be willing to bet this closes close to 17. So I think if you can get in under 16, I think that's a good spot. But we'll take Georgia State over. They're on the road, which is a little bit But ULM is absolutely dreadful. I do think the Warhawks are the worst team in college football.
Bold statement coming from that side of the computer, Jared. All right, I like it though. All right, I'm looking at number 17, Ole Miss, laying 6 against number 13, Arkansas. And I know that I was very woo pig suey, and Ole Miss had a really bad loss to Alabama. But Arkansas, they also failed to have any sort of offense against Georgia last week. They lost 37-0. And I was big on the woo pig suey train, but I think that the Rebels have the advantage playing at home in this one, right? I feel like Matt Corral throws for around 250 yards, and I just have a good feeling about Ole Miss in this one. And then I was looking at Cincinnati and how they played against Notre Dame last week, and obviously I didn't love the results of that game, but at the same time, Cincinnati is a really good team. But I like Temple plus 28.5. Because I look at Cincinnati and they're riding a high after beating Notre Dame. It's a short week to prepare for Temple. But at the same time, the last 2 meetings between them have been 1-score games. And I think that Cincinnati's going to win. But I think the Owls get the backdoor cover in this one. 28.5 is a lot of points. So.
I like that a lot. I was looking at them first half. If Temple wasn't so bad, we talked about Kentucky selling off of, their big win. I feel the same way about Cincinnati. I was hoping for a better opponent for Cincinnati this week to sell. I can't buy in on Temple, but I was looking at that game. I was.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe we can convince you in a couple days. I have a good feeling about that one. All right, let's move to NFL. NFL Week 5, obviously. Monday's still fun day. Just finished up last night, and what a game it was for the Chargers. We're heading into this week. Thursday Night Football only 2 days away. So what games are you looking at heading into Week 5? And where have you seen the lines move that really is impactful? You can make some good money on it.
I'll be honest, there's a couple of spots that I was close to betting.
Yeah.
But I didn't quite get there. But I'll talk about them anyways. So the total in the Jags-Titans game dropped significantly. It opened 52 last week. Now I'm seeing 48.5. That's a big move. And again, remember we talked about that key number of 51. So opened above 51 last week. Now it's below 51. That to me gives me, hey, that the over might be in play there, a little buy low spot. But I'm waiting because I want to hear what the Titans injury report is with those receivers. And I would be willing to bet that if one of those guys, Brown or Jones, is going to be playing this week, that total will increase. So if you're willing to gamble on the injury bug, which can be a very difficult thing to bet on, it's like roulette. You never know where that ball is going to land.
Toss-up.
Total toss-up. You might get some positive line movement with the Titans and the Jags total if Jones or Brown or both end up back in the lineup. The other one that was interesting was Vegas against Chicago. So that game opened Vegas -7. And then Chicago played pretty well on Sunday. And I saw it reopen at around 5 before last night's game. I'm curious. Actually, I haven't checked this morning. I'm curious if last night's loss moved Vegas down at all. Let's see. No, I'm still seeing 4.5, 5. So I think that might be a decent buy low spot for Vegas because let's be honest, the Lions, they should have scored at least 10, 14 more points in that game against the Bears. They had 3 possessions inside the 10 and scored as many points as you and I did on Sunday during those possessions, which is not good. So I think the Bears defense is a little susceptible. And now you get Vegas in a bounce back spot underneath that key number of 7. Now, I haven't bet any of these yet. I'm just examining where the line is moving, and I'm curious. I might fire on Vegas. I might fire on that over in the Titans and the Jags. But again, I'm willing to be a little patient this week because we already saw some pretty significant moves against those teams and against that total. So I'm curious where things go from here. But no official early bird bets in the NFL for me this week. All the college games that I gave you are already locked in. Those are already official bets.
Oh, okay. I like it. For me, I want to talk to you about this 49ers at Cardinals. The opening line was -2.5.
Yeah,
now
that moved a lot too.
-5. Absolutely. I know. I look at Cardinals are one of the few undefeated teams heading into week 4, and they remained perfect this weekend. Running game proved to be dominant. I mean, Kyler Murray was absolutely stellar, and they're riding some serious momentum heading into week 5. Now you look at the 49ers. They're probably going to be without Jimmy Garoppolo this week. He has a calf injury. I think it was a calf injury. Right. So you look at Trey Lance, obviously he's going to be in there. He's going to send to QB1. And I don't know how the 49ers are going to look. I mean, I don't know how they're going to look with him under center. So I like the Cardinals. I know you like the Cardinals too, because you've been riding them high right now. Obviously you're not getting them at the best price, but at the same time, I mean, I feel like you can make some money on this game because they really have a lot of momentum heading into this week, and Kyler Murray is absolutely stellar. Yeah,
the one thing that scares me, and again, this is the market in the NFL, opens -2.5. Now it's -5. We don't know how Trey Lance is going to look. He could look great. He might not look great. There's a lot of volatility, a lot of unknowns when you insert a rookie quarterback into the lineup. Because it's moved through the key number of 3, through a key number of 4, and now it's landing kind of at 5. I saw some 5.5s out there. Wouldn't be shocked based off all the action if this closes at 6. I don't think I'd be willing to buy the Cardinals at that price because I'm a little concerned that we might not have the full picture on Trey Lance. You're right. He could be brutal.
What about just like taking a risk it for the biscuit and just say, hey, let's do 49ers money line?
Now that is the best quote unquote value pick of that game because it's moved so much against the Niners. And again, this is a divisional game, back-to-back divisional games for the Cardinals, back-to-back divisional games for the Niners too. That needs to be said. But it's off of what was a huge win for Arizona, arguably the biggest win in the Cliff Kingsbury era. That was a Super Bowl-like win going into LA, beating the Rams, who a lot of bookmakers we talked to last week said was the best team top to bottom in the NFL. And they made them look like, tiddlywinks and, munchkins out there. Like they were running all over the field.
Tiddlywinks and munchkins.
Tiddlywinks and I love munchkins, by the way. Big Dunkin' Donuts munchkins guy. But the Cardinals rushing offense was chomping up the chocolate glazed munchkins like I do on a Sunday morning. It was an impressive win for Arizona, and it's tough to buy into a team after a win like that because the lines move so much in their favor.
Well, a lot to keep our eyes on heading into this weekend. I'm looking forward to seeing, what kind of movement happens in the next few days and what we can get in on this weekend. I'm so pumped about it. Oh, and we're going to give our picks all on Friday too. So we'll keep you guys posted on all of that. Well, a little earlier today, Jared, I know you had an opportunity to sit down with PointsBet's head trader, Jay Croucher. Take it away.
All right, joined here by PointsBet head of trading, Jay Croucher. And Jay, we usually talk every week. Now we're taking it to video. So we're not going to go too off what our usual script is. And we're going to start where we usually do, which is the top of the market. And to me, you did a great job last week in kind of identifying the Super Bowl tiers. I'll question the Rams because of the game that we saw on Sunday. Do you still think LA, in my eyes, maybe took a step back, but do you still have them in the top of your Super Bowl tiers heading into this week?
I think the Super Bowl tiers now, it's the same one top tier that it was at the start of the season, which is Tampa Bay and Kansas City. I think that, particularly Kansas City got back on track. Not that there were really any doubts about what they could do on offense, but I think it was just a reminder to the public and also to the market just what Patrick Mahomes can do and that he still is the best. And then Tampa, they've obviously got a lot of injuries on defense now, and they didn't look incredible against New England, but they got that win, and their schedule the rest of the way is really easy. And I think that, when you look at a futures market, you need to take into account schedule, particularly with how valuable the 1 seed is now, where, a team like Arizona, they look incredible and they look like the best team, but they have to go through that brutal NFC West, and just the odds of them getting a 1 seed versus Tampa are just much longer. So that's why we've still got, Tampa and Kansas City as the clear top 2.
Let's get into the NFC West because we get a very quick turnaround this week with the Rams and Seahawks game. I would imagine, and you guys are pretty high on the Rams this week, still, laying points on the road in Seattle. Do you think the short turnaround Thursday night on the road has any impact for you? And would you consider Seattle as a home dog in that spot?
Yeah, it definitely has a lot of impact. Like, rest is still the thing that, a lot of people don't factor in enough. Rest and travel and, West Coast teams traveling east for an early game on a Sunday, that type of stuff. It matters a lot, particularly later in the season as you accumulate that wear and tear. I think this early in the season, it might not matter as much, so it still has an impact. But yeah, the Rams, the market has been really high on LA, and sharp bettors are really high on the Rams. They often firm during the week. And, they were just bad against Arizona. They didn't look like the team that, everyone built them up to be. That line actually moved against them during the week. Yeah. And so Seattle are another strange team where, they've had a couple of unimpressive losses. Last week is a difficult game to really make a judgment on because Garoppolo goes down and all of a sudden you've got the rookie quarterback just in there. So I think that this will be a really good benchmark kind of game for Seattle to see, exactly who they are. Because right now we have them, at basically bottom of the NFC West, along with San Francisco, and a clear point of distinction between them and the top 2 in the division, and the Rams and the Cardinals. But obviously if the Seahawks, if they win at home, then that flips on its head and they're right back in the mix again.
Yeah, and then we'll get our first full look at Trey Lance this week. Not an easy spot. But again, the Cardinals now is moved. I saw that line open 2.5 last week. Now it's up to 5, 6 at some spots. Is there a point where the volatility of Trey Lance maybe makes us pause to buy in on the Cardinals at the number, considering, hey, Trey Lance might play really well this week, and then the number on San Francisco is probably off?
I think that just with how rookie quarterbacks have looked this year and how bad they've looked, I think that particularly in their first starts, you think of how Justin Fields looked against Cleveland, for instance, Zach Wilson early on, Trevor Lawrence, they did not look good. No. And Trey Lance, you can't necessarily extend that definitely to him, but I think it's just a reminder that, rookie quarterbacks succeeding in the NFL, particularly early, is just very rare. And it puts in perspective just how amazing Justin Herbert was last year, or Baker Mayfield in his first season, how good he was immediately. So all that stuff, it probably weighs against Lance. But this Cardinals team, still always skeptical when a team overperforms expectations this much so early on. But now we're getting to the point where we have to treat the Cardinals as real, just with what they did, particularly against Tennessee, and then last week against the Rams. That week 1 game against Tennessee, until last week, that was the biggest aberration game of the season. You just look at the scoreline, it just doesn't make sense. But now it makes a lot more sense when you look at the Titans losing to the Jets, even though they didn't have A.J. Brown and Julio Jones. And then, what the Cardinals did to the Rams, they're a pretty frightening team.
I know it's the Jets, but hey, I think the Jets showed a lot of spunk on Sunday. You could tell they really wanted that game for their head coach, and Robert Saleh was stressing the defense and the physicality and really hitting Derrick Henry and Ryan Tannehill. Am I crazy for wanting to take 3 in the hook, neutral field with the Jets in this spot against the Falcons after what we saw with their defense over the weekend?
Yeah, I don't mind the Jets. I think the Jets they're not the car crash that some thought they might be.
Just a little fender bender. Not quite
they will. Yeah. I think they might trend to just being a kind of respectable bad team. The team that, Houston look like they would be under Tyrod Taylor. That might end up being the Jets, where they have enough pieces. And Zach Wilson, he is extremely volatile, but he tries to make all the throws, and there will be weeks like against Tennessee where they do come off. And so he might be, I don't think he's going to be scary to bet against because he's still Zach Wilson, but he will have some games where he does pull a win out. And so, yeah, against this Atlanta defense, it should be as close to a training drill for him as you can get in the NFL, because this Falcons defense is atrocious. So, yeah, I think this might resemble the Washington-Atlanta game where, again, you've got two bad teams going up against each other, and hopefully it's high scoring and entertaining at the least, if not particularly well played.
Yeah, got to give him a show out there. I think it's at Wembley, right? Got to give him a show out there at Wembley Stadium in London. Okay, last game we'll get to, and this is everyone's favorite game this week, right? The Sunshine State Battle. Dolphins, who have looked really, really rough with Jacoby Brissett now under center, against the Bucs, who, again, win no cover on Sunday. But this Bucs team on the secondary is really, really starting to get banged up. Carlton Davis went down. And I saw Antoine Winfield also nicked up as well. They're down to like their third or fourth string corner. They had to bring in Richard Sherman from off the street, laying 10.5 against, again, a Dolphins team that struggled. But is it hard to lay this many points with a defense that is susceptible to the pass right now?
It would be hard if not for the fact that they're going up against Jacoby Brissett, who's not the guy, I think, to take care of or take advantage of that decimated secondary. But you're exactly right. And that's the story with Tampa Bay right now. It's just you reach a critical mass with injuries in a position group where all of a sudden it's just not viable. And in the secondary, I think the thought was that Richard Sherman, he probably wouldn't play against the Patriots, or he might just see limited time.
Like the number one corner
out there almost every snap. And I think Sherman got burned a few times, but he's probably going to be important for them now as the season goes on because of how decimated they are. I think that this game is going to be about, again, the Buccaneers offense and just how heavily they can score against that defense, and whether that just renders the game completely meaningless, or whether Jacoby Brissett can actually get something done. He will be going up against a still very strong pass rush, despite the secondary being not in a good spot at the moment. The Bucs still do have a pass rush. They're still able to, put pressure on Mac Jones and hit him a few times. And so, yeah, I think this is just going to be about, how heavily the Bucs can score, how interested they are in scoring after obviously a very emotional week and a huge game on Sunday night. But Tom Brady, this is the type of game where, similar to the Atlanta game, where you expect him to rack up a lot of stats, a lot of touchdowns and passing yards, and continue to build his MVP resume, which I think is kind of quietly going very under the radar. The fact that Brady, despite not getting the yards against the Patriots, he was still going up against a really good defense in tough conditions, in obviously a hugely emotional environment, and he still got the win, didn't throw any picks, and he still on the season got incredible stats and is on the team most likely to be a 1 seed. So I think that people are sleeping on Brady for MVP a little bit.
All right, nobody's sleeping on Jay Croucher, head of trading at PointsBet. Thank you again for joining us this week.
Thank you, Jay. Thank you, Jared. Jared, you're back. You're all over
Here
the place today. Bouncing
Love
around
it.
like a little tiddlywinking munchkin.
I'm never going to hear the end of that one. I'm never going to. It rolls off the tongue, right? It rolls off the tongue very nicely.
I love it. All right, let's talk a little Major League Baseball because we got the first postseason game tonight, and it was a crazy weekend to get here. The New York Yankees and Boston Red Sox both came down to the absolute freaking wire, but they're going to be playing each other tonight in the wild card game. So 2 age-old rivals face off at Fenway Park on Tuesday. And just want to touch on this really quick. The Giants clinched the division with their franchise record 107th win of the season. Now, we were talking a little bit about this. If you would have told me back in March, hey, you get to the end of the season and you look at the NL West and the Padres are not in the postseason and the Giants are winning the division with 107 wins, I'd be like, I'll bet you $10,000 that probably won't happen. Well, I'm glad I didn't do that because I'd be a very poor woman at this point. But did you ever expect that to happen?
No.
At all?
I think they were 50-1 preseason to win a division, somewhere in that range. And when you have two teams like the Dodgers and the Giants, or the Dodgers and the Padres that are gobbling up so much equity in the market, it's hard to imagine that a third team, considering the length. That's why baseball season, you don't see as many underdogs, long shots. The length of the season, usually the regression to the mean will happen, but the regression with the Giants never happened. And now they're the number one seed in the NL playoffs.
It's so crazy to think the Padres players are taking their planes home right now, and the Giants are looking red hot heading into the postseason. It's going to be fun to watch the NL. Okay, talking about the AL. Wild card. We got the Yankees walking off the Rays to seal their spot with a 1-0 win on Sunday. And then we had the Red Sox getting a clutch two-run home run. Say that 5 times fast. In the ninth to sink the Nationals. And the Blue Jays took care of their own business, beating the Orioles, but they needed either the Yanks or the Red Sox to lose to force a tiebreaker. But you're looking at it now. Yankees, Red Sox. What are you looking forward to? What do you see from this matchup for the AL wildcard game?
So baseball is a really unique sport. Because you have a 162 game season. In this case, we almost had 163. We were very close to 163. And all of that sample size goes into one season. And then one game will determine who goes on and who goes home. First of all, that's why the wild card, in my eyes, has become very popular, TV ratings wise, but also from a betting perspective, because the randomness of sports betting is a little bit lessened when you apply it to the full length of a 162 game season. But that's not the case anymore. Throw that out. Now it's a best of 1. Then we'll have a best of 5. Then we'll have a best of 7 times 2, and that will determine who wins the World Series. So after all those games, hundreds of games, just a little handful of them will determine who wins. That's why baseball is so fascinating. And that's why, to me, the stats and the trends and the WOBAs and the XBHs and these all slugging percentage, not as important in the postseason. You know what is important in the postseason? Experience. I think home field advantage does matter. Last licks has an impact. The atmosphere does matter because the average baseball game doesn't have those kinds of atmospheres throughout the course of the regular season. So you see a huge increase in all of those things. The stats matter less. The intangibles, in my opinion, matter more. Well, when you look at this game between the Yankees and the Red Sox, I don't think there's a whole lot separating these two teams. In fact, nothing separated them during the regular season with their records. They had the same record during the season. Crazy. So you have to look at which team I think is a little bit more prepared to win a postseason game. I think the Yankees have a deeper bullpen. I think they have more options out of the bullpen. And I think they have the better starting pitcher. So that's kind of where my head goes here. I think the offenses are kind of even, but the JD Martinez injury is concerning for Boston. He's their best hitter. I know he sprained an ankle or something over the weekend, so check on his status. And overall, I would lean Yankees here because Garrett Cole got the Fenway Park demon off of his back a little earlier in the year. And again, intangibles to me in the playoffs matter a little bit more than the stats and the batting averages and who has more RBIs and all that crap. So I would lean, and again, my heart, obviously, big Yankees fan, leaning to the Bronx tonight. And it's going to be a fun game at Fenway Park, I'll tell you that.
It's definitely going to be a fun one. I know you're in on some futures now, World Series futures. One of them, I'm sorry to say, Blue Jays, you had them at plus 3,000 to win the World Series. Cry, sad face. That's a loss. I'm sorry about that one.
It's okay.
Sorry about that.
We almost got them in. The goal was to get them in, and they didn't get in. So I'm glad they didn't get in because it would have been more heartbreaking if they would have lost it later on in the playoffs. At least
that's true.
Pull it off like a Band-Aid.
Just rip the Band-Aid off. Yeah, just rip the Band-Aid off, baby. Rip it off. But you do have a few that are still alive. Tell me about them.
Well, the Brewers is my favorite one. So we bought in on the Brewers on August 1st. So it's been 2 months of sitting on this ticket.
I love that you say we, like it's a group collective effort. We bought in on the Brewers.
Yeah, the collective betting we. I need to get that out of my vocabulary. It is I hit the button. I bought the ticket. I'm getting ready to pass blame onto the collective we if and when the Brewers do lose. No, I bought in on the Brewers on August 1st at 12-1. We've seen some nice movement since then. I believe it was either 7 or 8 or 9, somewhere in that range on a lot of the major shops this week. If you haven't bought in on the Brewers yet, now the Devin Williams injury, remember he he punched a wall or something after the NL Central celebration, and he's out. That's an important injury because he adds a lot of depth to their bullpen. But
why would you
playoffs,
punch a wall? That's my thing.
I don't know. These guys, or girls, any athlete, your body is your job. It is your instrument. I would be in a bubble if I was
10 out of 10 would not recommend.
10 out of 10 would not recommend. So I think that definitely hurts their chances of winning the World Series, but I don't think it hurts their chances to where I'm not willing to bet on them. But at this point, since the line has moved, the odds have moved a little shorter, I think I would just rather bet them to win each series and then roll over the profits. I think you'll get more bang for your buck, and then you can also throttle up or down your risk accordingly. They're about minus 145 right now to beat the Braves in the NLDS. I like that. Then I would roll that over into the NLCS. I would assume they will be an underdog against likely Dodgers or Giants, but you never know. Could be someone else. But the winner of that NL wildcard game will face the Giants in the NLDS. I would assume it's favored that it's going to be the Dodgers. If it is Dodgers-Giants, then one of those really good teams will likely be favored against the Brewers in a potential NLCS. So I would be willing to continue to bet on the Brewers, but I would do it in the series prices, not in the actual futures market. The White Sox to win the American League is my other futures pick. I'm a little sour on the White Sox right now. They're underdogs against the Astros in the ALCS, but I will say, or in the ALDS, but I will say this. If they can get past the Astros, I think they're in a favorable spot because then they're going to get the Yankees, Red Sox, or Rays coming off of an ALDS where you would assume that ALDS with an actual divisional matchup will be a slugfest. And maybe they can maybe they'll breeze through the ALDS against Houston, and maybe they'll be in an advantageous position in the CS. But I'm a little bit lower on the White Sox now than I was 2 or 3 months ago when I bought that pick.
It's going to be fun to see how things come down to the wire, whoa, words. Jared, what just came out of my mouth? I have no clue. You
were so excited about my futures.
I'm so pumped up right now. It's going to be fun. Major League Baseball postseason starting tonight. It's going to be really exciting to see how things fall down the stretch here. I need to chill out on the coffee or something. I'm like,
it's
baby
coffee.
bunny rabbit or
definitely
something.
The coffee.
It's definitely the coffee. Always the coffee.
Too many tiddlywinks and munchkins for you this morning.
I cannot handle right now. Getting into our Pickswise play of the day. If I'm correct, there are no 3-star bets today, right?
No. And that's okay. The smart cappers in the bunker there on Pickswise.com, they were cooking some stuff up this morning, but didn't feel that anything was worthy of a 3-star grading. And that's okay because we're not going to have one of those every day.
Nothing but the best. Nothing but the best for our viewers, for our readers. So you know what? No 3-star play of the day, but we got our best bets of the day, which I think are pretty 3-star. We're on the same thing. Yankees money line, Jared. Tell me about it.
Double. It's another LBI double play of the day. We did this last week with the Cardinals.
Finally on the same team again. Because earlier we were fighting, so I'm glad that we're back on the same team.
Yeah, the breakup is over. Now we're back together again. So I think getting Garrett Cole at I got this at minus 117 on the Superbook this morning. I think getting Garrett Cole is I would call that almost a pick'em against the Red Sox team with Nathan Eovaldi, who I think if you asked me, it's an interesting matchup anyways because Eovaldi's former Yankee. But both guys have had similar numbers against the other team this year. I would say Eovaldi's numbers are slightly better than Garrett Cole's numbers, but Garrett Cole's numbers I think lately have been better, and he kind of got that monkey off of his back. He hadn't pitched well at Fenway until recently. So, and again, I think the Yankees are a little bit, I don't want to call them the hotter team, but down the stretch, they definitely were. They didn't play well in those 2 out of 3 that they lost against Tampa. But besides that, they were very good down the stretch, and they showed you that they have the ability to win in the clutch. They've won a ton of close games this year. And I think their bullpen's deeper, and I think Garrett Cole has a slight edge for me over Eovaldi. So I have a slight edge on the mound. I have a slight edge in the bullpen, and I think the offense is a little bit more consistent right now than Boston. So all those factors to me equal the Yankees win at Fenway Park tonight. Let's go Bombers on the money line.
I love it. And you also look at it, Jared, too. I'm just going to build off of everything you said. The Yankees are 4-1 in their last 5 games at Fenway Park, 6-0 in their last 6 against the Red Sox overall. Also 5-1 in their last 6 road games and 8-0 in their last 8 games following a day
Numbers.
off. I know. 8-0 in their last 8 games following a day off. So they're going to be feeling really well rested after having yesterday off. Yeah. And then on the other side, the Red Sox are 4-14 in their last 18 as an underdog. So that ain't great. Yeah. And they're 1-5 in their last 6 games versus an AL East rival.
Wow. So they've really struggled down the stretch. They really have. And they showed you that they're not as deep. First of all, their win total this year was 80.5. So they have greatly exceeded that already. And I think the Yankees are gonna win this game tonight. I do.
Yeah, the Yankees. I mean, just looking at just the numbers, they all swing in the Yankees' favor. Yeah. I'm feeling really good about a Yankees money line AL wildcard game, baby. Let's go. It's gonna be fun. We're gonna break it all down tomorrow. Can't even wait. All right, that's it for us today. Taco Tuesday.
Whoop.
We done. Find us on the Pickswise YouTube channel. Go to pickswise.com. Follow us on Twitter. For Jared Smith, I'm Lauren Jbara. Best of luck tonight, guys. We can't wait to see you tomorrow. Let's get it. Let's bet it.